Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17 and today I'm doing a tier list specifically for the movies that I saw in 2021. There are plenty that I have not seen, such as let's say Mass or Belfast, or maybe some more popular like bigger movies like The Matrix Resurrections, or even Space Jam 2. I just never got a chance to see many of these. But I did see a number of them, I think 40 total movies, most of them in theaters, some of them online. I will give a quick synopsis of each one, rank them in their respective tiers, and kind of give you a basic idea where I put them, and then at the end I'll kind of organize it in the tier of my favorite, from the top tier of C to the low tier of C, for example. But I will say, even if they are in C tier, it's an average film. There's good, there's bad, but I don't think you're gonna come away be like, oh, that was truly bad or truly good necessarily. I think you'll just have a general, it'll be fine. It's a fine movie. D tier is there's maybe one key aspect I enjoyed, but overall the movie was terrible or bad. F is complete garbage. Do not waste your time with this film. B is they had a severe flaw, but overall I thought it was still a good experience. And A is a film that I thought is a classic or great or something along those lines. Though I will say overall this year, not as many hits as, let's say, 2019. 2019 is probably my favorite year of amazing films. There's a number of key films like Godzilla King of the Monsters, Doctor Sleep, Ford v Ferrari, Jojo Rabbit, Knives Out, that I'm like, those are incredible movies that I could go back to and watch. These ones, I don't think many of them even hit that mark. There may be one or two, but I'll get to that in a moment. And again, quick synopsis. Some of these I did cover on my Creature Feature channel, so again, I just want to kind of cover that if you want to go see more in-depth about Creature Features, but some of them are on here. First up is a movie I actually saw for free with my girlfriend, Voyagers. It's a D. It's essentially, was it Land of the Flies? Or Children of the Flies, whatever that story is, where essentially a bunch of kids are stuck on an island, but this is in space. It's okay, you can kind of see every plot point coming. What I will say though is, even though it is something formulaic, I did think it wasn't a bad retelling of that. I thought it was fine. It was just kind of, well, actually no, I think it's just in space version, and I do think like there's enough there. I think it will keep you interested if you've never seen that story before, but overall it is kind of average. It's like a low C, high D for me. I'll kind of figure things out. Again, my goal is trying not to have more than 10 films in a given category, and I kind of average that in my head, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. One that is sharply not going below, but going above is A Quiet Place 2. Easily one of my favorite films of the year, easily one of my favorite theater experiences of the year. If you've never seen A Quiet Place or A Quiet Place 2, I highly recommend it. A Quiet Place 2 keeps up what originally A Quiet Place did, just doubles down on the character drama, the emotion. It is a short movie, but also they really double down on the monsters, and you can see them a lot better. I thought it was a fantastic film that ended exactly where it needed to be. Some people thought it ended a little too quickly, and I can definitely see it being a little rushed, but overall, the point at which it ends, I thought was incredible. So I'm curious to see what happens next. Next up, we got Dune. This is a film that I really enjoyed. I didn't mind the slow burn at all. I enjoyed the world. I enjoyed the world building, the different races, or I guess control groups. And I will say races because there's definitely like modifications going on with different people. Oh my god, I forget what the Skarsgård it is, but that villain is so good. Actually, the whole cast is amazing. Jason Momoa almost steals the show with his character. But there's so many good performances in this movie that I highly recommend it. It is part one though, and you definitely feel that part one, especially in the last like 20 minutes, where it doesn't feel like there is a conclusion coming. It feels like it's just an episode of something happening. But still, I'm curious to see what happens with part two, and I think part two will shoot up part one even more if it's a if it's a good conclusion to this story. But part one is definitely something you should check out. Eternals is a movie that I enjoyed, but there are definitely flaws in the movie. I do like, however, that they did go a little darker with the movie. I do like the themes and the different like politics they kind of go into. I like the world building aspect of the Eternals themselves. However, there are villains that get sidestepped, and I wish I had more time or weren't immediately removed. There are ramifications that happen that you would figure would have a much bigger, impact on the world for what they are. and some of the characters in the Eternals just don't get enough screen time, and I wish they got more, because a lot of these characters are pretty good. Like Kumail Nanjiani's character is solid. I really liked him in this movie, but again, it's just a movie that I feel like unfortunately has way too many parts, a bit too long, and that's with so many different people. And again, just a key issue with it. But I think it's average. I know people calling it bad, but I truly don't think it is. A movie that was disappointing for me was Army of the Dead. I do not know how you have Dave Bautista as the lead role and all these incredible actors and actresses, and especially Zack Snyder, who came out with a director's cut earlier in the year that was way better. And I guess I'll just spoil that now, at least with, Justice League. But overall, like, I was not interested in Army of the Dead. It was just way too slow. The pacing was off. And honestly, the initial, 10 minutes, I'm like, is this a Sci-Fi Channel original movie? Like, the dialogue was just bad. It just felt disconnected and just all over the place. Where Justice League, I really enjoyed. There are parts of this movie I would easily consider great. The problem with Justice League, if we're going with another Zack Snyder film, is the last 30 minutes and I think the first 10 minutes are terrible. I hate the epilogue in Justice League, and I hate the first 10 minutes. The scream that's in Justice League I thought was the dumbest thing I could possibly see, especially for ramifications. I get what they're trying to say, but it's just dumb. But there are characters like Cyborg and Aquaman get more fleshed out. The Flash gets more fleshed out. A lot of characters get more fleshed out. Superman feels much more impactful in this movie when he comes back. And again, my other thing is the color grading is drained of all life in this movie. I still think it looks better than the other movie in terms of the CGI used, but the color grading is something that I actually like more in the other movie. But anyway, I still thought it was a really good time. The conclusion of the battle is fantastic, especially with Flash and Wonder Woman. How they contribute to it is incredible. And unfortunately, I know there's probably not going to be any continuations, but I did have a very good time. Unfortunately, I didn't have a good time with Antlers. Antlers was a movie I was probably one of my top anticipated films because it was produced by Guillermo del Toro, which is another movie I couldn't see, which being Nightmare Alley, but it was bad. It started off well. I like the atmosphere. I like the family dynamic of this family being torn apart by this demonic spirit that's slowly taken over the person. But again, it's just something that just didn't land, and it just got dumber and dumber as it went on. The final battle, I thought, was just, it looked visually good until they started fighting, and it was like, this is bad. This is so bad. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, but I would recommend Encanto. This one I did not expect. I was looking at Encanto and thought it was similar to Luca, which I guess if I'm just kind of putting out where Luca is. Luca, and again, because they're both, they're all Disney animated films. When Luca came out earlier this year, I thought it was okay. I'm not a huge fan of slice of life films. I think it's fine, and I think it's really good. It just didn't quite knock it out of the park for me. And I thought it was just fine compared to Disney's other movies. But that being said, I still think Disney / animation, including Pixar, usually knocks it out of the park with their films in terms of anime quality. So again, Soul the previous year was easily one of my favorite films. So Luca being more of a slice of life is a different change, but it's fine. Where Encanto, I thought it was going to be more slice of life, but again, there is a central core bit of tension, of drama that actually leads more of stakes within this personal family, and it's a more personal movie with a lot of these core characters going through very small issues that can consequently add into big problems, and I really enjoyed it. The musical numbers are great, the animation's fantastic, and I will openly admit this movie absolutely made me cry. The river scene, I will say, just literally had me bawling. So this is probably the most emotional animated movie, or I think emotional film of the year for me. So easily an A for me. Wish Dragon was a nice little diversion, I will say. It's a movie that is very similar to, let's say, Aladdin, although I will say the animation isn't quite as good as, let's say, Luca or the Disney animation in general, or even like DreamWorks or anything along those lines, but I still think it was fine. it was, again, even with animation that isn't quite on the heavy hitters, at least for this movie, in my opinion, I thought the story was quite charming. I thought it was really good. Actually thinking about this more, moving Voyagers down, although I'll move it at the high D. But yeah, I thought it was a quite charming movie. The villain's ridiculous. But yeah, I thought it was still a quite good little animated movie, and it was actually quite funny. I laughed quite a number of times, and the main lead is really solid. Even though they repeat a lot of things from other movies, they change it enough to make it interesting. So I do still think it's again, the more I talk, the more I'm like, I might move things around. But I'll leave it as a low B for right now. We'll see what happens when I get back to it. Those Who Wish Me Dead, I really enjoyed this movie. The main villains are probably the most threatening and evil bastards I've ever seen at least in a movie recently. They're so goddamn good. And again, both of them have been villains in other movies, or TV shows. But again, they are so good. And Jon Bernthal's in this with his wife, and oh my god, those two are also incredible in this movie. The problem is not them. The problem comes with the child and Angelina Jolie. I did not care for their story. There's a part where they're running in a lightning storm that just did not. I thought it was in a grounded movie that was like so fantastical and ridiculous. But that being said, the other 2/3 of this movie is so goddamn good, and the atmosphere and the drama I thought was so good that I'm easily something I would recommend. It just, I wish the third part of the story was just as good as the other two, because Jon Bernthal gives his A game, the villains give it their A game. I just felt Angelina Jolie and the child, they could have done more. And it was so close. It was so close, in my personal opinion, to be one of my favorites of the year. Easily one of my favorites, just came out of nowhere, is Blood Red Sky. This is a movie that essentially is terrorists take over plane, mom must try to save child on plane, but mom is actually a vampire, and the more she fights, the more she becomes a vampire, and it just gets going from there. There are moments that as well that separate themselves in flashbacks, which help because most of this movie takes place on a plane. So when you get flashbacks, it kind of allows you to breathe and check out other different sets and different environments, so that way you're not constantly having issues with being stuck in one environment. And I thought I did so well. The music is fantastic. The acting, which a lot of it's German, I thought was really, really solid, except for the child acting. Antlers had a better child actor, but Blood Red Sky, everything else I thought was amazing. The female actress that plays the vampire, or I guess is slowly becoming a vampire, oh my god, she is incredible. I really enjoyed not only the emotional performance, but the physical performance that she has to do, because again, there's a lot of acting she has to do with kind of going after people and just constantly being aware and moving her arms and stuff like that. It sounds dumb, but there's a lot of things she has to do all at once, and I thought, especially with all the prosthetics she had to wear, I thought she did a really damn good job. Anyway, another movie that came out of nowhere I did not expect to like so much was Mitchells vs. the Machines. I thought this movie was fantastic. Really great animation style, really great 2D animation with 3D, really great story, great family drama, a really interesting story, a good like central theme to it. I just had so much fun with this movie, and it made me laugh too. I had some good heartfelt laughs with this movie. It's on Netflix. I highly recommend it. And yeah, easily one of the biggest animated surprises of the year. Now we have Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is a movie that I thought was fine. I really enjoyed the kid drama. I thought they were good. There's some fan service that worked for me. There's some fan service that didn't work for me. I actually thought the kids did a pretty good job. I just wanted more scenes with them. But I feel like for them rebooting Ghostbusters, this was probably the best outcome. And the opening 10 minutes I thought was great. Like, honest to God, I thought it was really good. That being said, I do think Ghostbusters does have some problems with repeating a lot of the stuff from the first movie and doing nostalgia in kind of a little too much. But I thought that the acting, especially from like Paul Rudd and the child actors, the female, the child, I would say, of the family, like her, she was incredible. She did such a good job in this movie. But if I'm kind of going to relate to movies I talked about previously, Shadow in the Cloud is another movie that takes place on a plane, but I don't think quite nails it. Half this movie takes place in one scene. one specific location. And while it is a really good movie, in terms of, in my opinion, I could easily see that that style of having one specific location for a good chunk of it really throwing people off. And I saw that on the IMDb score being 50-50. So I would probably say, yeah, I would probably put it here in the C category for right now. I think it's average. I don't think it does anything out of the ordinary. I think that had a lot of potential to be a really solid grindhouse World War II sort of film, kind of in the vein of, oh god, what is it called? Heavy Metal, where there's that sequence in the sky in the bomber where there's like zombies popping up. Similar to that, but just a longer movie kind of mixed in with kind of like Creepshow. I had the potential, but it didn't quite nail it. But I still think, was it Chloe Grace Moretz? I think her name is, but she is superb. I thought she really, really helped the film out. Another film that I thought was really, really good was West Side Story. Here's the problem. The West Side Story has some of the best directing, some of the best musicals, some of the best editing, pacing, everything that I can think of any movie I saw this year. Yeah. The problem I have with West Side Story is the main drama of Romeo and Juliet, aka they fall in love within 24 hours, I felt was... I just don't think that story plays that well. And again, this is essentially taking both characters fall in love and they do it within 24 hours and they're just so passionately in love and they have a couple scenes together. And while that can work in the 60s and it can work in a very long play, this is a 2.5 hour movie with tons of characters that get plenty of screen time, and I just don't think it quite nails it. And I do think that Ansel Elgort, out of the two, just is fine, but everyone else in the cast is so amazing that it's probably on the lower end of the A, but I did enjoy the movie a lot. Another movie I saw this year was Prestige. This is like an action film. It's fine. I also got free tickets to see it, thanks to my girlfriend, and I thought it was okay. I thought the action and the plot and overall the ever evolving story was pretty okay. I just don't think it's anything special. I think if you go in seeing an action film, you won't leave disappointed. And I do think it's dark enough and has interesting themes that at least it'll pull people in. So I'm going to leave it here right now in the C category. I might change that in the near future. Now you might say, Greyshot, you haven't put anything in the F category yet. Well, here, let me change that real quick in case you missed my creature feature stuff. The Devil Below is a god-awful movie. I don't recommend it on anyone. It has monsters in it that you can never see, really bad sets in terms of having a safe house with glass windows the monsters can easily break through. One good actor in the entire film that I actually enjoyed, and that is an actor that's been in multiple things, including, it's funny because I just saw the actor in Yellowstone and I'm like, oh, he's in this? Again, it's one of the shows I need to get to. By the way, the director of Yellowstone is the same director of Those Who Wish Me Dead, and also Hell or High Water and a number of other really fantastic movies like Wind River. But point is, terrible film, don't recommend it. Another movie that I thought was absolute garbage was, and my girlfriend made me watch it, He's All That. I thought the acting was terrible. I did think it's slightly better acting than Devil Below, because Devil Below I just didn't care for anybody. He's All That at least had me chuckle a few times, and there are some cameos in it I thought was fine, but overall I just didn't care for the story. Although I at least cared a little more than Awake. It's funny, I'm right now watching Jane the Virgin with my girlfriend, and I watched Awake. Actually, she had no idea about this. I watched it because I got word that it was a Rooster Teeth ripoff, and I was like, what do you mean by Rooster Teeth ripoff? And I realized, oh, this is a ripoff of Day 5. And for those who don't know, essentially if you fall asleep, you die. Or in this situation, you can't fall asleep, so eventually you'll die. And while I think the main female lead is okay, the story is so piss poor and bad that I would not recommend it. And even though there is an ending, like spoiler, everyone on Earth is dead. Like everything on Earth is dead. Anything with a brain function is dead. So yeah, no, I find that really dumb and stupid, the entire movie. Because again, it's like, I tried to find any theme, anything I could pull from it, but I just couldn't. I just could not enjoy the movie. But anyway, I have been skipping enough Black Widow. I actually thought Black Widow was pretty good. I know. I see people putting it on the worst movies of the year list. I'm like, God, did you watch any other movies? Because this has the reputation of being like terrible, and I'm watching this, I'm like, it's a fine action film. It does a lot of action sequences very well. Again, is it the best Black Widow film? No. Is it one of the best solo MCU films? No. Is it still far better than a lot of other just Marvel superhero films that are solo based? Yes. I thought it was interesting. I thought the characters were all fantastic, at least dealing with Black Widow, her sister, her father, and every like that dynamic I thought really was really good. That being said, the villain was fine. I actually, again, not a huge fan of Taskmaster in general, so I wasn't like super disheartened with how they changed it, how they changed the character, but I thought it was fine. And again, I thought the story made sense, but again, I think it could have been better, but I do not think it's the worst film of the year or anything like that, because I know a lot of people are putting that. A movie that's worse than it is The Tomorrow War. The Tomorrow War is dumb. It is so dumb that I think the one saving grace in this movie is the aliens and the fact you can laugh at this movie enough to where you can enjoy yourself. That's where The Tomorrow War stands for me. It is, I can go back and enjoy the aliens even though they take part of other alien like histories and mythologies to kind of incorporate into this alien race, but I still think the design and the implementation of these aliens is good enough. The problem is the fact that the emotional heart of this story, well, Chris Pratt's giving it his all, and I do not think he's a bad actor, or anyone in this movie is a bad. J.K. Simmons is in this, and I thought he did a great job. But, and I think the final battle is, all the battle sequences for the most part are well shot, well done. The problem with this movie is just, there's no real tension. Like, the time travel aspect doesn't make any sense at all. If you start thinking about this movie in any capacity, you will immediately just start having smoke come out your ears. It's terrible. But I do think there's enough enjoyable parts, and it's so bad that I think you could enjoy it. And I did. I was laughing at how ridiculous this movie got, and how it was trying to be emotional, and I'm like, you're failing, movie. I'm sorry. It's just, it's not. You're not. It's just not. A movie I did have an amazing time with is Shang-Chi. I thought Shang-Chi was incredible. The action sequences were great. The story was so good. The villain is top-notch. And again, there's a couple actors and actresses I could see being nominated this year. I could easily see the villain of Shang-Chi being Best Supporting Actor. I liked him so much in this, and I thought he added such good depth to the character that I'm like, yeah, I could easily see it. Again, but that being said, are there problems? Yeah. I do think once they get to the village, and I'll try to be as general as possible, I do think it slowed down a bit, but once the final battle kicked in, I know a lot of people say like, oh, you know, it's not as good, or, you know, it's not as great as the other action sequences, and I will say it's not those. It relates more to, I guess, how do I put this, like more fantastical action sequences of China, or like just martial arts in general. Again, it even gets to a part where it kind of starts reminding me of like Dragon Ball Z, which they do reference that, but still, I thought was super well done. And of course, I'm a guy who likes monsters, so that's all I'm gonna say. So like, once that final battle sequence kicked in, I was like, yep, I'm all for this. Let's go. So yeah, I really enjoyed Shang-Chi. It's easily one of my favorite solo Marvel movies that they've released, at least since Iron Man. Although I do like Doctor Strange and Black Panther. Yeah, although I probably think Shang-Chi is probably a more complete package, similar to Iron Man. Anyway, another movie that I was actually surprised I liked so much was Demon Slayer, the Demon Slayer movie. I'm not a huge fan of the Demon Slayer show. I think it's fine. I really enjoyed the movie though. The animation was fantastic, and again, this is by was it Ufotable? And Ufotable is known for being like a very like highly regarded supreme animation from all their properties, even TV. Like their TV animation is movie quality in a lot. Like there's a reason why there's a show called Unlimited Blade Works. It's called Unlimited, was it Muddy Works or something along those lines? It's just, they pour so much dedication in animation, and they streamline the process to allow 3D to actually be really well incorporated into the 2D, so it doesn't feel jarring, them trying to hodgepodge it. They do enough fine-tuning to make it work. But the 2D animation is so good. The final fight sequence in Demon Slayer easily had my blood pumping. Easily was fantastic. Well choreographed, well animated, well shot, fantastic music. What I was hoping to see. I just, and I do think there's enough of an emotional drama in the middle sequence that it will keep you going. That being said, again, Demon Slayer itself is still not one of my favorite series. I still think that some things were a little rushed in some areas or not maybe well explained in others, but overall, I still had a great time in it. A movie that I did not expect, and another movie I got free tickets to see, thanks to my girlfriend helping out, was Free Guy. And oh my god, I absolutely adored Free Guy. I enjoyed the action sequences, the world that they built for this NPC character. This is going to sound the worst, like the weirdest thing to say and compliment. The love story in this movie I thought was really well done. And again, everything is really well explained. There's a couple things toward the end I'm like, that character probably should have made it, but overall, I had a great time. I laughed so hard in this movie so many times. And this was probably, compared to one other film, the only movie where I had a theater reaction, right? When I went to the movies for a lot of movies, Shang-Chi had a couple, but this movie and Spider-Man No Way Home are the two movies that had such grand theater reactions in them. And I think that honestly helped, and it was such a fun movie to watch, and a movie that honestly I still think about. I'm like, they did that well, or that joke was really funny, or that like cameo was such well done. Sure, there's streamers in it, and they're just like, they don't talk like streamers, but overall, I do recommend it. Absolutely. I guess if I already talked about Spider-Man, yeah, Spider-Man's on the list. Spider-Man was, I thought it was not going to be able to hit the hype of that initial trailer and the second trailer. But you know what? It did. It was emotional. It had great action sequences. Some of the CG wasn't as great, but overall the characters were all well done. And they did something that 90% of movies that try to do nostalgia bait can't do. Stranger Things does it well. This does it well. They incorporate nostalgia into the plot and make it so integral that you forget it's nostalgia and just think it's part of the universe and part of the story. That's what you need to do. Ghostbusters Afterlife failed that, in my personal opinion. So it's one of those things that could have been done a little better in some ways. It did well in some, but not others. Spider-Man nailed the entire thing, and I cannot believe I'm saying that. I cannot believe how good Spider-Man No Way Home is. And easily probably in my top 3 Spider-Man films, next to Spider-Man 2 and Into the Spider-Verse. So highly, highly, highly recommend Spider-Man No Way Home. Though by box office wise, most people are watching it. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So only one more spot I can fill in my top 10 spot. So don't worry, guys. We still have plenty of films to add on for the other tiers, such as The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf. I thought the animation was really good. I believe this is the same studio that did The Legend of Korra. And I thought it was really damn good animation. However, the story itself was fine. I thought the main character was Vesemir was really, really good. We'll leave it at B tier for right now, though that might drop. Because the final battle is really good, but overall maybe the story just didn't quite stick it for me. But still, I thought it was a super, super fun time watching it, and I really do recommend it, especially because it relates to the Witcher TV show. So I do recommend it there. A movie I don't recommend is Mortal Kombat. I'm sorry. Let's see. Mortal Kombat had a bunch of good actors playing characters for the limited time they could. And they also had fatalities. That's it. Otherwise, I thought it was a generic, poorly done, Mortal Kombat movie. I'm sorry. I'm not even a big fan of the 90s one. I just didn't think this one was all that great or good or okay. I thought it was just forgetful. It's like, we must follow the rules. Immediately breaks the rules. Okay, cool. And, yeah, I just didn't care. I just didn't care. And it's sad because I thought it was actually going to be really good. And it simply wasn't. A movie that I cannot believe I enjoyed as much as I did is Malignant. Malignant is a movie you're either going to love or hate. And I do not like the movie unless I'm watching with others, and then I'm having one of the best times I've had this year. It is such a polarizing movie, but I adore it. It is so good, and it is the best comedy I've seen. I know it's a horror movie, but it is so damn funny. It's so stupid, but unlike the Tomorrow War, it is so damn funny, and the action sequences are so damn good, and such a good payoff that, and especially how much of a turn it takes. By the way, this movie is, in my opinion, more well made than the Tomorrow War, but it is so damn funny. And I know that's weird to say again, but it is so damn funny that I had such a blast with this. If you cannot believe what I'm saying, my Creature Feature channel, I actually do a reaction to it. I'm working on a thing. I unfortunately had to redo it like twice now, but anyway, I highly recommend it. I might honestly move it up to B tier, but at the very least I'll keep it C. I'll keep it C right now. Now, a movie that was great was No Time to Die. No Time to Die's opening section I thought was fantastic. The first act of this movie is great. And if it would have stayed great, it probably would have been in the A tier. However, the middle of the movie is B tier. I thought it kind of lost steam once they get off the boat. I'll say that. And I think that's when like the main villain starts showing up, at least in a more direct way. So yeah, I thought it goes B, and then the final act I thought was a C. I thought it went on way too long. The villain just was a generic villain where it needed to be something that kind of changed the formula or did something different. I just thought it was generic. I thought it's dumb because you have Rami Malek. You have him as the villain. And he's an amazing actor, and he just has nothing to do, and it's just unfortunate. I still enjoyed the movie. I think it's a good James Bond movie, but again, it just went on too long, and I think the ending the ending is fine on paper. I just think it went on way too long, and the villain was just nothing special, and that's the biggest issue I have with it. Werewolves Within. This is a movie that's easily probably the best video game adaptation from a straight up game that I can think of. For a movie, I know Castlevania and all the other stuff is better, but like for a movie, I would have to say Werewolves Within is pretty good because it has a good central mystery. It has good characters. I like the evolving the evolving sense of dread you got with it, and also the comedy was really good. I laughed out loud a number of times in it, and it's funny because the main lead in this is the secondary comedic character in the Tomorrow War, and I'm like, I could see this guy working, and then I saw Werewolves Within, I'm like, yes, this is where he's working. So again, I thought he did a really great job. But that being said, there is a few things. The werewolf itself, I wish had like more money behind it, and I wish the town had more. I don't know. The town seemed too empty or too big for the amount of people that were supposedly living in the town. So I will say that was an issue, but for the style and everything, I kind of just didn't care, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. Another good movie I would say this year was the Last Duel. The Last Duel was easily, again, a thing my girlfriend got free tickets for and was fantastic with Adam Driver, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, was it Julie Comer? She's actually also in Free Guy. All of them are amazing in this movie, and it is a darker film, and it is a little weird with the pacing because they'll kind of repeat subject matter, but you kind of realize from starting it, you're like, oh, okay, this is the hero, and then we're gonna have the villain, and then we're gonna and it's like, no, that's not how this goes. Everything is gray in this movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed how they kind of covered a lot of scenes, and I liked how they kind of go into was it 13th century like science and how stupid that was. In again, someone who loves history, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's unfortunate. But overall, I still think it's such a great movie. I had such a great time with it. In terms of the fight scenes, they're so bloody and brutal, and it's so good. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a good historical drama. But anyway, easily one of my favorite films of the year, and it's probably like one of the biggest surprises as well of the year, because I was not expecting much. Then I watched it and like, this is great. I can't, like, honestly, I just can't, like, argue with it. And it's very few flaws. I can't think of, like, any major flaw besides the pacing. But even the pacing is because of the repeating story, and it's done well. Like, again, how they do it. And, yeah, no, it's good. It's really damn good. Red Notice is something that I did not enjoy. Actually, I'm going to put Red Notice in under the low D. It is very close to being an F tier movie for me. Red Notice, the only thing it has is 3 amazing, talented actors and again, you have The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. If you had any other actors or actresses, this movie is shit. I'm being honest. This movie has nothing going for it. The plot, the twist I saw, like, literally from the first 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, and it's just boring. I know everything that's gonna happen, and it's just not that interesting of a movie. It's not that funny. The action sequences are not that well done, at least to me. Like, if I'm looking for better action, like, look, Ryan Reynolds, I'm looking at Free Guy. If I'm going for Gal Gadot, I mean, like, I'm hoping she's good in was it the the Death on the Nile movie. If I'm looking at The Rock, I would honestly, it's funny because I never saw it, but everyone tells me Jungle Cruise, like, he knocks it out of the park. So again, it's like other movies that came out either this year or will be coming out shortly. Like, I'm sure all of them do better jobs elsewhere. Actually, I take that back. I enjoyed Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman 1984. I thought she was actually really good in that. There plenty of problems I have with that movie. Tons of problems. But, like, overall, I thought she was good in it. So, like, they've been better in other things. I just feel like they're in generic role in this, and it just sucks. It really, really sucks. Godzilla vs. Kong. This pains me. I might move it up to A, but I don't want to. It has easily some of the best action sequences in terms of monster battles that I've seen. And as a kaiju fan, I should adore Godzilla vs. Kong. Here's my problem. Godzilla vs. Kong has the worst human drama in all of the MonsterVerse. There's literally, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So I think there's like 3 different plot lines of humans. I think one of them is fine. One of them is you cut and you would miss almost nothing. And another one that is so underdeveloped and so stupid, especially for the legacy of certain characters, that it just, I'm going to be honest, I hated it. I hated what they did with certain characters because, again, you have the possibility to do something and you just shit the bed. But that being said, I will say the monster fights are so damn good, it elevates the movie. And again, I think it has fun with the monsters. I think these are the more fleshed out monsters we've seen in the MonsterVerse compared to, like, even in King of the Monsters. And the fight scenes are well shot, well done, and again, they're easily some of the best fights in all the MonsterVerse. It just sucks that they decided, let's just literally kill or remove all the human characters. And obviously, you can tell the movie was trimmed. There's a character that pops in for a second, and I'm like, you should have more dialogue than just a line. You got your scenes cut, so yeah, that's probably what happened. But yeah, no, I still think I've rewatched a lot of these scenes the most on HBO Max, but that being said, it does have a severe flaw, and I can't say that it is up there like Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think Godzilla King of the Monsters is still the best MonsterVerse movie, or my favorite, while Kong Skull Island is probably the best well-rounded of all the MonsterVerse movies. But still, I think if you're looking for fights, this easily has the best fights, so it's doing something right. Suicide Squad is doing something right, and now we have the problem. Now we have, let's put them in first. Suicide Squad's incredibly funny, really well done, really emotional, just a solid, good, kind of gritty, kind of feels like a 70s exploitation superhero film, just made today, and I really respect James Gunn for making it. I thought he did such a good job with this movie. And again, I thought the cast was solid. The only thing I'll say is Harley Quinn, there's a few sequences where I'm like, okay, we're spending a little too much time on Harley Quinn, but I can forgive that for the payoff they do with Harley Quinn in terms of what she ends up doing. And I thought all of them, like Peacemaker and all the different Sportsmaster, all the characters were just solid. So I cannot argue with where it is. Okay, here let's also cover some other things. Cruella. Now, some of you might be expecting me to put Cruella in the F tier or the D tier. It's going in the B tier. Cruella was, if I'm going from like what I thought the movie was gonna be to where it ended, Cruella is easily my favorite live action Disney movie that I've seen, and I will say this again, like for like best of, I think was it Emma Stone. I think she should be nominated for Best Actress. Like at the very least, I think she has a shot. You can give her a performance down and say, I did, like, again, just go through the entire movie. I thought she was so good. The soundtrack is fantastic. The clothing and the designs of it are really well done and really unique. The villain of it, and again, I know Cruella is the villain, but she's like literally going toe to toe with someone that is equally as maniacal and evil as what she can be. And I thought that was a really, again, good dynamic. And I also like the ending because, again, I know a lot of people are like, man, she's too nice. I'm like, what are you talking about? She literally, like, I could easily see this movie continuing and you have the 101 Dalmatians. But that being said, my girlfriend said, oh, I saw the end of the movie and I thought it would be a happy ending. I'm like, yeah, that's what the storm clouds are for. But no, overall, I was blown away by this movie. It should not be this good, but it is. So I want to move it up to B tier. That being said, a C tier movie I will say is In the Heights. Here's the problem: it fits in with Luca, where it feels like a slice of life, where at least for me, it doesn't feel like a grand epic story. Like, again, if I'm going with other musicals like Encanto, or especially with the Lin-Manuel like musical, like also the musical numbers in Encanto were better. But also, if I'm going with a musical, West Side Story was way better done. So yeah, I would definitely put it in the C tier. It's not bad. I think the male lead is better than the male lead in West Side Story, but overall, I don't know. It just didn't hit me. But that being said, this is probably my girlfriend's favorite movie of the year. Like, she adored this movie. So again, it just didn't click with me. And again, a lot of these movies may click with you a little bit different. Like The Long Halloween, which I adored. And here, I'm going to put in B tier. I thought the slow, gritty detective story was really good. I really had a good time with this. I'm probably going to have to remove the 10 because I just realized, like, I could at least recommend a lot of these movies. And again, there are other movies I probably could have watched, like The Little Things or other things or Space Jam 2, where I'm probably not going to, enjoy them as much and put them down. But whatever the case, I saw a lot of better movies this year. And hey, at least I can recommend quite a number of good films and tell you to avoid, at the very least, 9 films to kind of be like, maybe, but not really. But yeah. But anyway, Long Halloween, essentially, part 1 and part 2, I kind of combined them together because I just thought they were the same. The animation quality and all that stuff didn't go down, so I'm not gonna degrade either one to a different tier. But no, I thought the Long Halloween, the animated films were great. I enjoyed both of them. I thought they were really well done. The acting was really solid. It was a slow building, again, sort of murder mystery that I thought was really well done. The animation could have been better. That's probably the biggest thing. But overall, if you're looking for a mobster murder mystery with Batman and other superhero characters, I thought it was really well done. Raya also I thought was really well done. The score in Raya I really enjoyed. The lore and the world building I thought was really good. I thought the dragon was solid. I thought that the Raya as a main character was pretty good. The fight scenes were really well shot. Sure, I wish some of the side characters were better fleshed out, and I think the villain needed 1 or 2 more scenes, but otherwise I did enjoy the arc the villain went in. But yeah, no, I still think it's a good movie. Out of all the animated films, out of the ones Disney released, it is the weakest. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Luca's the weakest. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I've seen, it is I thought it was going to be the strongest of the year, but it ended up being one of the weakest, I should say. But that being said, I still had enough good time, and there's a chase sequence in this movie that is, especially with the score and everything, easily easily was one of my favorite sequences, just of the year, just in general. So yeah, I do recommend it, as well as Psycho Gorman. I enjoyed this dumb, fun, like, just essentially E.T., but what if the alien is just a maniacal prick? Like, I adored Psycho Gorman. Some of the effects don't quite hold up, but that being said, it's a smaller budget movie, and some of the kid acting / jokes, some hit, some don't, but overall I thought it was a good time. I thought that if you're going to watch this movie and expect a certain thing, you're gonna probably get it, and you're probably gonna have a very good time. Alright, so now comes the time of me sort of organizing things. The F tier, I think everything. I think Double Below is easily the worst movie I saw this year. When you can't even see the monster, you're doing something wrong. Awake had the worst story. He's all that. That probably had the worst acting, honestly, but at least had a more competent story. But that being said, it's a remake, so whatever. It technically is characters from the original. I don't know. Anyway, D tier. Should I move anything? Red Notice? No. Antlers had more potential. Red Notice had none. Mortal Kombat at least had better fatalities. No, Antlers had a way better transformation sequence. Army of the Dead, I thought had more style to it, and I liked some of the characters, but overall, when your movie is slow and boring, and you're supposed to be this fun, energetic film, I don't know. I don't know. Voyagers, I thought had a lot of potential for a movie that is based on a very classic book. And I thought the space sequence weren't like poorly shot or anything. I thought this, like, the cinematography was really good in it. But that being said, I thought the purpose is the acting is wooden because of the chemicals that are given to the kids, but it's fine. It's fine. But again, I just don't think it's anything special. And I think that because you can see what's going on from a mile away, and it doesn't do anything to kind of change your opinion or change the base idea, that it's just not. Yeah, I just don't care for it. The Tomorrow War as well is something that is at least is dumb enough where I can recommend, but is so many plot holes, so many inconsistencies. Yeah, I would keep it down. Protege I'll put lower. I think that it's a very generic action movie, but I still think it does enough that keeps it up from a D tier. Luca I probably would put lower because at least In the Heights had a story that could get around. Shadow in the Clouds I'd probably put a little right there. Eternals I had a lot of potential, but I also had a lot of shortcomings. Let me think. I can't remove Malignant. I almost want to move Malignant up to B tier, but it is flawed. There are a lot. It's a horror movie that doesn't work as a horror movie, so I can't recommend it as a horror movie. But I would say In the Heights. Okay, I'm fine with my C tier list. I'm fine with putting it there. Now we go to B tier. All right. Well, let's figure this one out. Psycho Gorman, yeah, I'd probably put the end of B tier because I think the effects wise kind of keep it down. But I also put Werewolves Within probably next to it. I'd probably keep it right there. Raya, I would probably no. I put The Witcher. I'll put The Witch. Actually, all these movies you could kind of move to an upper C tier if again you theoretically could. But I think they just make it on the B. But I could easily move them to C as well and put them in the same list. But I don't know. Here's the thing. Everything in B tier and above, I would recommend easily. C tier, I recommend with a disclaimer. Anything D tier, I don't recommend unless for a very specific purpose. But anyway, let's see. No, I probably put No Time to Die even lower. Honestly, I had way more fun than The Long Halloween. The Demons. Oh no, wait. Black Widow. I'd probably put. Yeah, I put Black Widow behind Raya. I'd probably. Black Widow. I'd put Black Widow right there. Yeah, I would put it right there. The animation in the Witcher movie I thought was pretty good. I think The Witcher had better animation, but I think the story in The Long Halloween was superb. Cruella had way better acting. I'm gonna move that up. I know, surprising. Yeah. Anyway, Demon Slayer movie had fantastic animation. I just wasn't a big fan. Like some of the characters, some of the story, a little bit of the pacing. Ghostbusters, I thought was. Oh wait, Wish Dragon. Damn it, I forgot about Wish Dragon. It's charming enough, and it doesn't, but it is very generic. It does generic well, but it is very generic. All right, so we'll move Wish Dragon down. What else we got? Ghostbusters, and we'll leave there. Ah, damn it. I'll keep Demons. No, Justice League I'll move down. Justice League, there's literally 30 minutes in this movie I hate, and I'll keep it above No Time to Die, because I still enjoyed a lot more sequences in Justice League more than No Time to Die. But yeah, Demon Slayer I'll leave there. Ghostbusters I'll leave there. Although I'll put Demon Slayer's higher. Those Who Wish Me Dead, except for I thought the weakest plot was still fine. I think it's there. Cruella, I cannot believe I'm putting Cruella this higher on my list, but I definitely enjoyed Cruella. And Godzilla vs. Kong is on B tier. It's just the human characters that keep it down for my A tier, which is probably going to surprise my brother, honestly. 151 is probably going to be astounded I'm putting Godzilla vs. Kong on my B tier list. Alright, now comes the top movies of the year. These ones I recommend unequivocally. They have, at least to me, I can't find a problem with them. Like, Cruella's, I think, too long, or Those Who Wish Me Dead, I think there's a plot that doesn't work. All these other movies, I think their flaws are so minuscule that you can easily override it. The West Side Story is probably the weakest one of them to me. Blood Red Sky is probably second to that. It is, like... I thoroughly enjoy this movie. I cannot believe how much I'm enjoying Blood Red Sky, but easily I highly recommend it for a creature feature. Then I would probably recommend, let's see, out of this list. This is tough. We're in my top 10, and I'm glad I put Blood Red Sky in my top 10. That's usually where I put, like, I don't know, something like, what was it? Oh god, 2016, I think it was Spectre or something along those lines. It always like a monster movie that just barely makes the cusp. Suicide Squad is good. Damn it. This is hard. This is very... Spider-Man would move more over. Free Guy move more over. It's Suicide Squad or Shang-Chi. That's the big thing. And honestly, I have to put Suicide Squad there. Shang-Chi is probably not as funny as Suicide Squad. But that being said, I thought the story of Shang-Chi was so good, and the final battle sequence I thought was great. It's funny because both movies have giant kaiju ends, and again, they're both ridiculous. But yeah, I would probably put Shang-Chi more. Though again, Suicide Squad, I could easily see it being pushed up more. Encanto is more emotional to me than Mitchell's vs. Machines, but Mitchell's vs. Machines is a better movie, in my opinion. That being said, Dune, I want to see what Dune Part 2 does, but right now I think Dune edges out my top 5 list. Then Mitchell's vs. Machines, then I'd probably put Free Guy. I cannot believe I thought I was looking at Free Guy and like, okay, this is going to be fine. I had such a good time in Free Guy. Yeah, no, so I'll leave it there. And then I'll probably put Spider-Man there. Because again, emotional impact. And you know what? A Quiet Place 2 is perfect. It is perfectly placed. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Yeah, I'm liking this tier list. I'm liking it. Yeah, so I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save my tier list, and I think I'm good. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna place everything. I think it's a good list. I think it's a good placement of all the movies of the year that I've seen. And so if anyone puts, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something. Like, if anyone, oh, by the way, I did, like, there are movies I did not see this year purposely. Like, I did not see the G.I. Joe movie, which I hear is god-awful. But that being said, there are other movies I do want to see. Like, I didn't have a chance to see Halloween Kills, and I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm hoping the second one is fine. I'm just hoping it's fine. But like, if anyone puts like Cruella in their worst movie list, I have no idea what they're smoking. Like, have them watch Red Notice or Antlers or Army of the Dead or Tomorrow War or Mortal Kombat or hell, any of these stinkers on Netflix. Like, seriously, watch those and then tell me that Black Widow is the worst movie of the year or No Time to Die is the worst movie, because I've had that argument with someone like, it's terrible. I'm like, really? It's the worst movie of the year. Okay, sure, why not? But yeah, no. Yeah, that's a good listing. I think this is a solid listing, and yeah. And again, I think taste-wise go a little different. Like, I know people who love Luca because they love like a Studio Ghibli slice of life film, and that shoots up higher. To me, I'm not a huge fan of slice of life films or TV shows for that matter. But that being said, it can still work. But I think this is a good list. I think this is a good, solid list of movies. And again, easily anything in my top A, I recommend unequivocally. Like, easily check out all these films. Like, absolutely go check them out. They're so, so good. But yeah, no, that's it. Thanks all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. I will leave a link down below so you can check out my tier list and, well, rank it for yourself. So that way I can kind of see where the community ranks. If you want to, no pressure. Same thing with my strategy game, although I think the link might be busted, so I have to double check that. Whoops, kind of been forgetting to do that. But anyway, thanks again, and I'll see all of you guys next time. Hello everyone, before y'all go, you can check out more content above, you can subscribe, and you can hear as I talk about some amazing people who support me on Patreon, which include Folkvard, Aphyria, Joey G240, Malam, Ace, ShinobiWarrior, Pyroshark, Sumtool, Epic Pleb. Thank you all for your incredible support. You literally help this channel keep on growing, so thank you. If you want to support the channel, again, check out some of the stuff I mentioned. Otherwise, I'll see all of you next time.